Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. As you know, we've been doing a Once Upon a Time marathon. Every week we do like 3 episodes. Lately we've done a couple 4 episodes. Couple sets of 4 episodes. I did a ranking video of all the seasons, arcs, and stuff. And so, anyway, that's why there's I'm making this video because I figured I put it in my Once Upon a Time marathon playlist because I decided to release it the same time we would normally watch Once Upon a Time. And so with the ranking video being in the Once Upon a Time playlist, I thought I'd make a video for this week since we're not going to be watching any episodes due to my vacation with family. When you're receiving this, it should be July 27th, and August 3rd is only a week away. But when I'm recording this, it's still almost 2 weeks away. It is Tuesday, July 22nd, the day I'm recording this. It's actually the 23rd because it's just after midnight. It's different when you're not going to bed yet. I work graveyard, so I'm used to being up in the middle of the night, up until like 6 a.m. or so. That's when I usually go to bed. But I don't work tonight. I don't work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I figured I'd spend the night making this video. And so, yes, it is technically the 23rd Wednesday, because it's 1 a.m., but it still feels like Tuesday to me. And so, yes, with it being Tuesday, still being early in the week from when we finish season 2, still, by the time I'm recording this, this is 2 weeks away. But by the time I release this publicly on my YouTube channel, it'll be 1 week away. So what I want to do for this video, I want to explain how I came to know Once Upon a Time, and it does involve some Back to the Future as well. Remember how I said I didn't have much Once Upon a Time merchandise other than these posters in the background? Can you see those? Yeah. Anyway, I told you I used to have Once Upon a Time merch, but then I lost it all. We actually ended up finding some when we were cleaning the house over the past couple months. It was kind of a summer project. When the summer came, our whole family was going to clean the house. We didn't find everything. I can even think of some Once Upon a Time merch that I lost. I made a list of those things that I lost, though, and we will talk about them as they come. But we did find a lot of merchandise, and for my birthday, I know I said I didn't have any Once Upon a Time merch, but that was before my birthday. We started in April. My birthday was in May. I got Once Upon a Time stuff for my birthday, so I found a lot of merchandise. I had a lot more than I remembered, and then just trying to look back through photos and stuff, there's just a couple things we still can't find, but that's okay. There were things we actually did find, but got lost before making this video, so I should have made this video earlier when they were found or kept those things safe. So my story on how I fell in love with Once Upon a Time. Well, Once Upon a Time, that's how every story starts, right? Once Upon a Time, there was me living in the real world, not full of fairy tale characters, though, like the Once Upon a Time's pilot introduction. No, I was just living the normal life with real people who don't believe in fairy tales, of course. But parents, siblings, you name it, just a normal family life. I was first into just cars, not cars like Pixar cars, but there's just like toy cars in general. And I don't have memories of this, but my parents told me the only show I would watch as a toddler was Barney. It wasn't, and then I got into trains, and then it wasn't until I was about 6 years old that I got addicted to Beauty and the Beast and watched the Disney's Beauty and the Beast over and over again. Now again, these were during the times of DVDs and Blu-rays, no streaming services, but nevertheless, I didn't like watching them on DVDs and Blu-rays. I would either watch them on recording or borrow my grandma's VHS tapes because I thought VHSs were better than DVDs. Call me crazy. But we had a VHS player, and I grew up on VHSs when everyone else grew up on DVDs and Blu-rays. So I was living a couple decades behind my generation because I would try to avoid DVDs at all costs. I'd play matching games with all the VHSs I borrowed from Grandma and almost never give them back. So, I probably made my grandparents upset. It was after 2006 that my favorite movie would constantly change. It was Beauty and the Beast for like a while, and then it switched to, I don't know the order of what my favorite Disney movie was, but one time it was Mulan. Some lasted longer than others. I think Beauty and the Beast was the only one that probably lasted for about a year. And then other Disney movies, when I decided there was another movie I liked better, it would last for probably less than that, like 8, 6, 3 months, you name it, at shortest, couple weeks, And sometimes, like, there's so many Disney movies out there, and every time I'd be introduced to a new Disney movie, I like it better than the previous one. not a new movie like theater released movie. So like during my childhood, Tangled came out in theaters. Princess and the Frog came out in theaters, though that was my favorite once it came out. And once I saw it, and we got the DVD, because they didn't have a VHS. They stopped VHSs around 2006. In fact, if you want to know this, Disney's last VHS release was Cars, Pixar's Cars, and that's not the last VHS that was made overall, but just in the world of Disney. Cars was the last one that got released on VHS, only for a limited time, though. Um, but yeah, I'm just talking about old movies, though. Anytime I'd find an old movie like Sleeping Beauty from the 1950s or Snow White from the 1930s, it would become my new favorite movie. So, like, I'm not talking about the new ones that came out, the ones that have VHS tapes. So, anyway, I would switch, Peter Pan, Pinocchio, you name it, switch back and forth, back and forth. And then, sometimes it will be a while since I watched like Beauty and the Beast, and I'll go back and I'll be like, oh no, now I like this again. It's better. I'd circle back to some of the movies. If the movies had sequels or trilogies like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella 1, 2, 3, and Little Mermaid, if you didn't know they're trilogies. They made direct video sequels. Unlike most people, I do agree with them now. They were just cash grabs. But as a little kid, I thought they were better than the original for some reason. I was just weird like that. Anyway, if they had sequels or trilogies, I'd only watch them once a day, maybe not even once a day, maybe every other day, or just on the weekends when I didn't have school, or maybe I don't remember doing this, but maybe I did just watch the original when I did have school and I only had a couple hours after school to watch it. But anyway, I'm making the story too long, so let's cut to the chase here. And I finally decided that Peter Pan was now my favorite. It was better than all the other Disney movies, to me. So yes, I've liked Peter Pan before, but then I jumped off it and liked something else better. I came back to it. Some movies I came back more than 2 times. I don't know, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Peter Pan was, I know, the last movie that I liked before I completely shut out Disney for the rest of my life. Once Upon a Time is technically owned by Disney because Disney owns ABC. But because the Disney logo, because usually Disney logos are on top of every single Disney movie. Since Once Upon a Time didn't have a Disney logo, I always considered, and sometimes I still have my opinion on this. It's not a Disney movie, even though Disney owns ABC. I feel like it was more of an ABC thing than a Disney thing, but they partnershiped. And so anyway, I guess you can't beat that. So it is Disney, but thinking that it wasn't Disney at the time, I decided to say Once Upon a Time is better than Disney movies. Anyway, so I must have liked Peter Pan for a while at this point. Not the first time liking it, but coming back to it. I explained that whole cycle thing. After having it be my top favorite several times and then drop out several times, it was finally my top favorite at this moment of my life. All summer, I think I watched it. And then the fall comes around. I just got a baby sister born. And my mom was on the phone with my aunt, and they were having a conversation. And I think my aunt was like, "What's Ben's favorite Disney movie now?" And he's like, "Oh, he's really into Peter Pan right now. He watches the cartoon a lot." And Amanda, my aunt, didn't mean to reveal her name there, but she was talking to her brother about a TV show where Pan's the villain and stuff. And so knowing that I was into Peter Pan, she called my mom back. She was saying, "Hey, there's this TV show where Peter Pan's the villain. I think your son would really like that." And he's like, "Oh, really? Pan the villain?" Now, Mom, every time when I reflect back on this, my mom always keeps saying, I think I ruined your childhood because Peter Pan is supposed to be a classic. It's supposed to be a place that you loved going to as a child, right? But it did ruin it for me. I hated Peter Pan ever since. My mom is pretty sensitive to violence. She wanted to see me watch Peter Pan betrayed as a villain. So, even though Once Upon a Time has a little bit of violence, she was able to surpass all that, still introduce us to the show. But instead of making us watch season 3, episode 1, which is the first episode of Pan, right? She thought it was too violent because they try to kill a mermaid on that ship. Spoilers for our future marathon in August. In the very first episode of the season, they try to kill a mermaid that attacks their ship, and they go really violent on that. Eventually, it's hard for a pirate and an evil queen to get along with Snow White, Charming, and Rumple. So they all have an argument. They fight, and Neverland is a place where imagination runs wild. And so if you fight on the ocean, you cause a storm, and until you control your anger, that storm's going to sink your ship. And so anyway, they're all trying to punch each other and almost kill each other. It's a little bit of violence. So my mom's like, okay, this one's too violent. Um, Honestly, it's PG in my opinion. My parents didn't introduce us to that episode. They wanted to watch the next one, which was not violent. And so we watched the second episode of season 3. You would think I'm confused, not even knowing about the first 2 seasons, and I didn't even know how seasons and episodes worked. Once Upon a Time was the first show to introduce me to that kind of logic. I finally get the concept. I'm like, what about season 1 and 2? We didn't have access to Netflix at the time, which was the only streaming service out there. We didn't have access to Netflix until after season 3 finished, so I was stuck just learning about the show from where I was at. Now, they have those special recap specials, but that aired right before episode 1, and it wasn't until after episode 1 aired that Mom introduced us to the show. Episode 2 have already aired. This was like the Wednesday after episode 2 aired that she was introducing us to the show. No, it was after episode 3, because I remember we watched 2 and 3 back to back. And so anyway, so this is the middle of October, because it starts at the end of September. And yeah, we're watching 2 and 3 the Wednesday after episode 3 aired. And we watched 2 and 3 back to back. But what she tells us, she lies to us because she doesn't want us to accidentally go back and watch the first episode on our own. So she's like, and what's funny is our on demand was weird. Back then, instead of listing the episodes, it would just list the dates they came out. So I saw this September 29th, and I memorized all the Once Upon a Time dates, by the way. That's part of this talent thing right here. But anyway, on September 29th, I saw that, but I'm like, that can't be an episode. That's just nothing. I ignored it. Watched the one that said October 6th, October 13th. Anyway, she told us that episode 2 was episode 1 and 2 combined. And because it was a 43-minute episode, I was like, okay, if those 2 episodes were combined, then this must be 3 or 4. My mom said, no, it's just episode 3. Well, how come episode 1 and 2 are only 20 minutes and episode 3 is 43 minutes? That doesn't make sense, I just ignored my mom. So every episode I watched on Once Upon a Time, I thought it was 2 episodes combined. Do you know how sometimes they have those 2-hour season finales? I thought every week they did 2 episodes back to back every night. So I thought the Tinkerbell episode was 3 and 4. Then you had 5 and 6, 7 and 8. I thought the Little Mermaid episode was 9 and 10. Anyway, it wasn't until after the Neverland arc that I realized that, okay, no, Mom just wanted us to skip the first episode. And by the time I decided I wanted to go back and watch it, it was off demand because they only do 5 episodes at a time. And so you can only watch the 5 most recent episodes. And so anyway, by episode 11, I could only watch 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So anyway, well, they do flashbacks, so maybe they'll explain how Henry got to Neverland, and they'll explain all these other heroes and how they got on Hook's ship. And I'm like, nope, they're not explaining that. And that's because it was all present day in season 1 and 2. And so anyway, then I go, and then I get interested in The Wicked Witch. Again, never have switched between Disney movies. This was kind of like switching between Disney movies, but except it's Once Upon a Time season arcs. And so it did get me invested in the Oz arc. So I watched the rest of season 3. And from then on, I just like the combination of all fairy tales in one show. I don't like watching them in separate movies. And so anyway, Wizard of Oz was not one of them I circled to before Once Upon a Time. But, and it's not Disney anyway. I just became attached to Once Upon a Time, and the longer I was invested, the more I became a fan of the show, and I got so addicted to the point I memorized every Once Upon a Time title and all the dates they came on. I could summarize each episode, detail by detail sometimes, and actually probably with all the episodes. And then some of my favorite episodes from each season, I could say line for line. It's like watching the episode in my head. Luckily, that's not copyrighted, right? I was probably the most addicted out of all the Once Upon a Time fans out there. If you disagree, I can prove you wrong. But no, we may not have time for that tonight because I talked too long. Now, when you finish season 3, there's the Back to the Future episode. It's the exact same as Back to the Future. Emma goes back in time, prevents her parents from falling in love, and has to get them back together without the ancest part, from Back to the Future. Anyway, it's a nice story. I wanted to see a time travel movie like that, and they mentioned Back to the Future several, every time when I rewatch the episode, Emma goes, who do I look like? Marty McFly? And Hook from Fairy Tale Land, who doesn't know what a movie is, he's kind of learned what a movie was at this point, but he hasn't seen Back to the Future, and he's like, Marty McWho? And Emma has to explain. He goes, the kid with the DeLorean and the lightning, and they go back in time. And Hook's like, is Marty some sort of wizard? No. And then Emma's like, Marty McFly's not a wizard. He's a wizard is exactly. And then she interrupts her thought, and we move on from the Back to the Future conversation. I don't know how because Back to the Future is a classic, right? I don't know how I didn't take the hint to try watching that movie. I just, as a kid, I ignored the dialogue and just watched the the actions that happened in the show. Not, I ignored the conversation dialogue, I guess. And that's one of the episodes I memorized line by line. So sometimes I would say those lines in my head and not register that they're trying to reference a movie. They're just saying, for all I know, they're just saying random gibberish, and I have the gibberish memorized. I finally went back one time and heard that. I wanted to know what they were referencing, but it's kind of funny. I remember asking Mom, and she said it was referencing a movie, but I never went to watch it. And so then a couple years passed by. We're in 2020 or 2015, around the time season 5 is about to start. I rewatched that episode, and from season 3, and I keep telling Mom, hey, I haven't seen, I've looked all over the past couple years for a time travel movie that was similar to Once Upon a Time's season 3 finale, and I couldn't find anything. Too bad movies don't make like that. I don't like Christmas Carol. I mean, it's good, but Scrooge can't change anything in the past. And then even the ones that do that, they're not just that great. Avengers Endgame, not that great. Only one movie put a form of time travel that I liked, and that was Back to the Future. But I didn't see it at that time yet, so I said I couldn't find anything. And she's like, well, then you should watch Back to the Future. That's what this plot of season 3 finale is all about. It's about Back to the Future. She explains that it's about this kid who goes back in time and prevents his parents from falling in love, so he has to get them back together. And then she explains that in the second movie they go to the future, but that's all she says. They go to the future. That's it. And then they say they go further back in time to the West, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You should do all 3 dimensions. The first movie should be about the past, which is 1955, then 2015, the future, and then they should do one about the present. But where's the time travel in that? And even if you want to argue, well, do an alternate reality present. Well, they kind of already did that in the second movie. I just didn't know it was more than just the future in that, And so anyway, I was complaining. I didn't like how they went further back to the West. I feel like that ruined the trilogy, but that's only because I haven't seen the movies yet, and she was just telling me what each one was about without giving much spoilers. A couple weeks later, after that conversation, she finally got us to rent the movies on demand. We watched the first one for a couple days, and then after a couple days of renting the first one, we had another family night. Again, just like Once Upon a Time. Every time we were introduced to a movie, we would have family night and watch it all as a family. Then we watched part 2. I remember exactly when we watched these 2. This was, like I said, during season 5. It was right after the Dark Swan arc. And we watched the first Back to the Future on December 29th. Then New Year's Eve was Back to the Future Part 2. And then we watched Back to the Future Part 3 on January 2nd. The only one we didn't see in 2015 was Part 3. We had to see it in 2016. But January 4th, starts coming around, and it's the last. Back on demand now, you can only rent things for like 2 or 3 days, but back then you could rent it for a whole week. January 4th comes around, and we lose the first movie, so I watch it one more time before we lose it. Then 2 days later, I watch the second one more time, and then 2 days later, the third one more time, and then later that summer, I get them all on DVD. For the first time, I get something on DVD, not VHS, because I think it's better. So maybe Once Upon a Time knocked the VHS out of me. I had no more favorite movies. People would ask what my favorite movie was, and I'm like, that got distinct once I got into Once Upon a Time. And so that became the only favorite thing I watched. So yes, that was my favorite thing I watched, but it's a TV show. It's my favorite TV show, not my favorite movie. It's not a movie. Otherwise that would be a lot of sequels. Anyway, it's not a movie. It's a TV show. So I had no favorite movie. And then Back to the Future came along, and just like Once Upon a Time, Back to the Future stole my heart as well. Ever since then, I never changed favorite movies again. Once Upon a Time stopped my fairy tale jumping. It made me stick to one thing, right? I didn't just watch Once Upon a Time for like a year, like Beauty and the Beast, and then move on to something else. No. It stayed my favorite for the rest of my life, even to this day. defined the rest of my childhood pretty much. And like Henry, I grew up watching the show. In fact, if I would have not missed season 1 and 2, Henry was 10, right? I was 9 when season 1 started. That's only a year difference. Henry, the actor, Jared Gilmore, he might have only been 14 when season 6 ended, but that's just the timeline within the show. In real life, he was 16. That made me 15. And then he wasn't in season 7. They had an adult Henry. They had an adult actor play Henry. Spoiler alert, there's a reboot. When season 7 ends, I'm 16. Yep. So Once Upon a Time almost stole the rest of my childhood. I still had 2 years left, though, so I'm like, what do I have to do before I start paying bills and stuff? I'm like, or mortgage rents and stuff like that. I'm like, what do I do for the last 2 years of my childhood? I couldn't find anything else interesting to watch, so I just kept watching Once Upon a Time once a year. That's when I started the once a year business. Even when the show ended in 2018, I wanted to watch the whole show from the beginning to end for the first time without any stop in the middle. Now I have to wait until it airs again. Nope, it's done airing now. So let me just watch it from the beginning all the way to the end without waiting for ABC to release more, because it got canceled. So anyway, I did that for the first time in 2018, then I did in 2019, then 2020, and then my mission kind of stopped my yearly trend a little bit, but it's okay. Time flies. But yes, Back to the Future. Then in 20, I haven't had a favorite movie for 2.5 years of watching Once Upon a Time. And then after the first half of season 5, I finally had a favorite movie to stick to. And unlike my other Disney movies where I would watch my favorite movie over and over again every day, Back to the Future, I only watched during Once Upon a Time breaks. Back to the Future, I couldn't watch it again until I got it on DVD. So as far as after being introduced to it, I had to wait a half a year until the summer. And then in summer of 2016, I got it on DVD. And from then, I just pretty much watched it at least probably once a week and then focused on my Once Upon a Time marathon. And then when Once Upon a Time came back and I was only watching one episode every Sunday night, probably watch it a couple times a week. There were times, though, I was more addicted to Once Upon a Time. So I much preferred looking up, watching the most recent episode over and over again every day until the next episode came out rather than Back to the Future. So it was Once Upon a Time. It was Once Upon a Time that I watched actually pretty much every day, even all the way till its series finale, and then once a year, the whole show all the way through. But like occasionally, sometimes to take a break from Once Upon a Time, I would switch over to Back to the Future, watch that over and over again, and then switch back over to Once Upon a Time. Every time I would switch back over, Back to the Future would still be my favorite movie. Once Upon a Time would still be my favorite TV show. I will try. I'm better at trying new things now. I recently did a couple years ago, got into The Flash and The Arrow. And as far as other fairy tales and other time travel movies go, I'm sorry, nothing beats Once Upon a Time and Back to the Future for me. But that doesn't stop me from trying other things. I do try other things, even though nothing can change my favorite anymore. Ever since 2013 and 2015. After 2020, when I went on my mission, I came back trying a lot of other things, and I changed since then, so don't worry. So yes, that is my story. I don't think we're going to be able to cover everything else. Still Tuesday night for me, / Wednesday morning, 2 a.m. now. So yes, I'm just going to show you my Once Upon a Time merchandise, and then we'll just call it good. Things did not go according to plan. I just spent too long on my story. I'm so sorry. I guess I love the center of attention. Okay, my story is weird. That's not the kind of story you'll find with other people who came to know Once Upon a Time. When I first watched the show, every time a season finished, I would get it on DVD. Now, this is the thing I was talking about where we found it in the garage, but then we lost it before I made this video. So a few days ago, we found season 1 and 2. And then season 3, we found the DVDs in a safe contained box, but not in these kind of form. Not in a DVD case. They were just in a safe, unscratchable box. And when I opened it, there's DVDs scattered all over the box of season 3. So I lost the case of season 3, but I found the DVDs of them. And then season 1 and 2, I found the case with the DVDs inside them. And then I put them on the couch one day because I had to go to work, and when I came back, they were gone, and we could never find them again. I asked the person who took them, they don't remember where they put them, so they're gone again. I couldn't find them before making this video, and I wanted this to be out during the week we were not doing a marathon, so I didn't want to wait any longer. So, anyway, I am finally making the video right before Pioneers Day, and so, no season 1, 2, and 3. But here's season 4 without the cardboard cover. I don't know where the cardboard cover is, But this is the season 4 I bought right after season 4 came out. And whoa! When you bought the season when you bought the seasons on while the show was airing, this is what it looked like. Look. You get one DVD here, you flip it over, second disc, third disc, fourth disc, fifth disc. See? This is how it was organized back in the day. Now, if you didn't watch the show while it was on the air and you watched it sometime after, it's a little different. Then you have season 5, and what's funny was that I was so impatient when the season finished, I did not want to wait until it came out on DVD. You know, someone was releasing early access to them, but, you know, the price for getting early access is that you get crappy DVDs. These were fine. They had decent quality. It's been beaten up since then. But look, this is what season 5 does look like. But this is not what the back looks like if you bought the season now, or if you waited until it came out on DVD before season 6. That's not what it looks like now. I was just impatient, and this was just one of the early rare copies of it, you know, before the official release. So anyway, I should have been more patient. But see, you remember how I said with season 4 how there's one disc per side? Can you see that? One disc per side, and you have to like flip them over to get to the other disc. This is what the seasons look like if you bought them now. You see, instead of putting one disc on this side and then one disc on this side, they put two together, you know? And look, it's the characters in the underworld. And that with the other season 5, this didn't come with a postcard. If you bought season 5 when it came out and you waited until it was officially released instead of trying to get an easy access from an early access from Canada, because Canada was releasing them earlier, and I didn't want to wait for the U.S. to release them because I'm from the U.S. Anyway, if you get them from another country, this is what you get. Never buy the seasons early. But yeah, you get the 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, 16. Oh, it's on this side. 16 9 through 19, 20 through 23. I looked at the other season 5. It's the same way. But no postcard. And that's not what the season 5 DVDs usually look like. Look, even the front cover. So this is the opposite of season 4. Season 4 still has this. But season 1, I somehow ripped off the plastic, took the paper off, and only kept the hard copy. So season 5 is the opposite of season 4. So as you see, I did not take care of my Once Upon a Time DVDs as a child. I was very bad at that. So I need to take. So never trust me with DVDs when I was a child. VHSs, on the other hand, it doesn't matter. They'd still work if you scratched them, just as long as you didn't mess up with the tape. Then you have season 6, which again, remember, it's the same thing. One disc per side. Whoa! That could have been scary. Anyway, one disc per side, and they have these two things in the middle instead of one. Nothing over here. But then you got this. Long live the Queen. So yes, I know what you're thinking. Regina's not going to go evil, but I'm not going to spoil. So ignore that you saw that on the cover, Long Live the Queen. Then you got season 7, which I'm not going to open. You know what it looks like. 1, 1, 1, 1. And that's it. That's all I have left from my first copy of the DVDs when they first came out. This I got before season 5 aired. This I got before season 6. This before season 7. And then this is sometime in the summer of 2018 because there's no season 8. So yes, there is that. And then because Once Upon a Time Wonderland never came out on DVD, I made a custom one. This is my Once Upon a Time Wonderland cover. This is the cardboard. So not the same cardboard that had these seasons in it, but if you bought the whole series, this is the whole series that's in good condition. In fact, I could sell these right now. They're mine. I don't want to give them away, but if I did, you would probably want these. They're in good condition. They're almost not touchable. There's only one time I took these DVDs out for use, and then I put them back in. I mostly just watch on Disney Plus. I got this Christmas of 2018, even though I had a good season 7, and I didn't ruin it in months, I promise. This is still in good condition, unlike these previous seasons. But during the last season of the show, I took very better care of my DVDs, and I wanted to re-get the first 6 seasons since I treated them horribly and scratchable. This is the only season that's not scratchable. But when my family tried to order me a new set for Christmas they couldn't find one that just had the first 6 seasons. You could either buy each season individually, which was more expensive, or you can get it all 7 seasons with a cheaper price. So I just had to re-get season 7, even though I didn't damage this one. So anyway, I do again, that was back when I started my YouTube channel. So I did review these when I first got them for Christmas. And so if you want to watch those videos, you can. But, this is proof 7 years later that they're still in as good condition as they were back when I first started my YouTube channel. The only difference is that the yellow tags that used to tell you that there's 22 episodes, bonus features, and look, let me show you one that actually has the tag. See right there. It says, let me read it to you. Own Season 6, plus exclusive bonus features and more. Fridays this fall on ABC, because they're trying to tell you that Season 7 is in the fall, and it's moving to Fridays. And so anyway, Season 7 had one of those, except it didn't say Sundays or Fridays this fall. It said something else. But I lost the tag. It fell off. Season 6 still has its tag. Not the other Season 6. Oh, no. See, the other Season 6 still has its tag, too. But 5 doesn't, and 4 doesn't. So anyway, this 5, though, has the tag. And I'm going to open that season in a second. 4 used to. You can kind of see the little smudge right there. It fell off. But other than ruining the tags that were on here, the DVDs inside are in good quality. And there's almost no scratch on them. Unlike the other seasons of the show, where it's one disc on each side, this has 2. And then you got 1 in the middle, and then 2 on the other side. That's what happens if you buy them now. And look, unlike the other seasons, some of them would come with some of these. It tells you other shows you can watch and buy on it from ABC. A lot of them would come with these things. Every season almost. Dang it! Now I take that back. I just created a couple scratches just by showing you guys this. I can swear you, these DVDs were tightly in their case. Okay. Let's put this back in. So yeah, a lot of them have these other advertisements inside. Almost every season has these. But I took them out of these ones. And so anyway, so if you want to know what this looked like when you first bought it at the store, I would show you these ones, not these ones. So yes. So there's season 1 in back. Then you got season 2 back. I'm not going to open every single season. Season 3 back. Now here's the season 4 with the hardcover. Back. We'll get to season 5 in a minute. Here's season 6 back. And again, we just saw this recently. Season 7. Both are in good condition. That other season 7, though, has only 1 disc per side. This has 2 discs. So yes, if you buy the show sometime after 2018, you get 2 of each. Or if you buy the whole series, at least. I haven't bought them individually. Maybe it's because back when these came out, I didn't buy the whole series because the whole series didn't come out yet. I was buying each season as they finished airing every year. So if you buy them individually, maybe it's like that. But if you buy the seasons collectively, they're organized differently inside. And you have to be very careful because 2 DVDs on the one side and 2 DVDs on the other side, it's pretty tricky. But here's what I want to show you about season 7. See these postcards? Season 5 was, not season 7. Season 5 was special. It was different from the other seasons. You would not only get advertisements for other shows, but depending on what version, whether it's Blu-ray or DVD or digital HD, you would get a coupon. Now, I didn't care about the Blu-ray version. I only bought it on DVD, so I got the Underworld coupon. But you would get the Camelot if you bought the Blu-ray version. And if you bought the digital HD version, you get a Storybook coupon. That because that was the arcs. As Once Upon a Time. Storybook is the main part of the show, but Camelot and the Underworld were the season 5. Now, I have to show you something. Again, this is the back. Same thing, right? Okay, again, 2 discs per side. They're not falling out this time. That's great. I just wanted to show you my Underworld coupon. I guess it doesn't have advertisements. So I guess in replacement of the advertisements of other shows, they wanted to just do this. So I got an Underworld postcard. Not a coupon, sorry. Not a coupon. I'm not taking a trip to the Underworld. No, thank you. Anyway. So yes, those are my more better and conditioned seasons of Once Upon a Time. I already showed you Wonderland. I gotta get through the rest of my merchandise here. from here on out, we're going to go way fast. So here's a Once Upon a Time comic book. They have 2 comic books, actually. If you look on my screen, this is why I shared my screen. I wanted to show you. They have a season 7 book that I never bought. Going back, they have... Going back again, I guess. I do have that book. Regina Rises. Okay. I do have that book. They said there's 4 books in the series and 2 comic books, so I'm just trying to show you all of them. I do have that Once Upon a Time book. Now, these big books have pictures in them, but for the sake of time, maybe I'll give you a quick flip through. But for the sake of time, we're not going to stop and look at each image. Almost every picture from Henry's book is in here from the series. How nice. Okay. So I do have that book. And I have this book too. This is the one I got while the show was on the air, though. Look at all that writing. I tried to tell the whole story. But at the very end, there's pictures. There was one picture I lost as I was putting this book together. I'm skipping some pages, so I'm sorry you're not going to get all the images. But they're all in here too. And then you got the rest of them are blank. So Once Upon a Time book, I got 2 of them. My mom made a custom one that's not exactly like the other ones, but like tells you each character. Snow White, if you want to know a little bit about Snow White. Tells you about Emma. I hope you can see that. You got Hook and Belle. See, yada, yada, yada. With the back of the book. Look. See? Same back. See? They have the same back too. Woohoo! Okay. Going back. Henry and Violet. I do not have that book, sadly. I do not have Henry and Violet. Oh, where is that one book? Okay, there is a Heroes and Villains book. I almost got it for my birthday, but it was too expensive, and I chose... This is the one I got for my birthday, okay? These 2 just got lost in the garage, okay? But this is the one I got for my birthday with every single picture, because this only has the season 1 pictures. This has from all 6 seasons. I chose that over Heroes and Villains. This is a book that comes in season 4, but it's only in season 4. So I didn't think it was convenient for, at least at our point in the marathon, at least. So I didn't grab that one. Maybe I'll get it for Christmas. We'll be there by Christmas time. And then look, if you look right here, the Red's Untold Tale. It's right here. I just took the cover off. I read it as a book report for my homework in school once. And then if you saw this, let me go back. Right here. See this? This is all of season 1 in a novel, except they skipped a few episodes. But it's 17 episodes out of the 22. So anyway, those are my books. And so that's it for that. Then you have this comic book. There's another comic book. Let me see if I can find it. See this one? Shadow of the Queen? I don't have that one. I still need to get that one. But those are my Once Upon a Time books. See, they're all stacked right there. In my background, you got the posters I still have. There's other posters I lost over the years, but there's those 2 that I showed you in the first reaction video of episodes 1 through 3 of season 1. Right? You got Robin Hood. That's not until season 3. And then Hook, Regina, Emma, all those people. Belle, Hook. We've seen all these characters at this point in the series. We're past season 2 now. Robin Hood's the only one on here that you haven't seen yet. Season 3, and then up there. I know it's not even in that picture up there. Up there has all the characters we've seen so far. We are not done yet, though. Because you remember my Once Upon a Time shirt that I failed to show you. I try showing you every live stream, but it's the Welcome to Storybrooke. That's another Once Upon a Time thing I got for my birthday. Those are the only two Once Upon a Time things I got this year recently. Everything else that I'm showing you merchandise wise was a long time ago. 2013 is when I started the show. 7 to 12 years ago. So anyway, here's another shirt I had. I don't know where that one is, but it has all the Once Upon a Time characters. And then I do have one more shirt I want to show you. So I went to 3 Comic Cons in my childhood. We met the actor of Robin Hood. There's me and my mom. See my Once Upon a Time shirt, though? It has just the Once Upon a Time logo, mostly black. I don't know where that shirt is. That's the last shirt I was going to show you. A different Comic Con. So this was like 2015, I think. This was 2017, 2 years later. Saw Emma Swan with my mom. They're the same age. They were both 39 during that year, I think. And there's me. And then I'm going with more family members in 2019 to see Rebecca Mader and Lana Parrilla, who play the evil queen in The Wicked Witch. You haven't even seen The Wicked Witch. For those new to the show, haven't seen The Wicked Witch yet. We're getting there also in season 3. So by season 3, you'll have seen everything in my Once Upon a Time merchandise, and we won't have to worry about spoilers once we get through season 3. Robin Hood signed this, and I don't know who signed that, but there's me at FanX. Look, my hair was longer back there, wasn't it? Kind of cool, huh? Anyway, so those are those posters, and there's a picture of me. This is when I was like 14 or so. I look weird. But yes, those shirts are long gone. I'm so sorry. I looked all over because I used to make YouTube videos back in 2018, and back in 2018 I may have lost some merchandise, but not all of it. There are some things I had in 2018 that I don't have now, and I thought, what if I put them in my YouTube videos? I tried looking very hard. I made over 500 videos at this point, and I didn't want to have to go through all of them. This was the only poster I could find from 2018. I didn't look through all the 2019 videos. I just went through the 2018 videos. There's probably more posters if I'm right, and this was the only one I put on YouTube. This YouTube video, I was not just covering these posters. I did have these ones in there as well, along with this one. But this was the only one I saw that I didn't have on my bed right now. And so anyway, there's those posters. And there's this one right here on my screen. I don't know where it is though. It's all the characters from season 1 though. So I think that's everything I want to show you as far as that goes. And then on here, remember the Once Upon a Time cards I used to have? I don't know. This is another YouTube video I found from 2018. This is the only card I still have today under my desk. It's a picture of Neil, Bellfire, who was just introduced over the past few weeks in season 2. And look, you have all these other characters that I lost. And look, there's those 2 posters again. Where is Emma Swan? See? Anyway, me and Madeline was playing a card game. And I can't believe I lost all my cards. This was something I got after the show ended. I didn't know that. And I wanted to show my cards on YouTube. This is the only card I still have. I lost all the other ones. Then you have this, the trading cards that tell you about all the characters just from season 1. There's a total of 45, so nine per laminated means there's 5. As you see, I'm missing 1 card, so that's like the opposite. Here, I'm missing everyone, all but 1. This one, I'm missing only 1. So this is one of the things my mom found in the garage, and luckily she chose to laminate them because they would have been scattered all over the garage if she didn't. And look, it's empty right there. We're missing 1. But if you flip on the back, it tells you the story behind these characters. It gives you all the flashbacks from each season. Because, look, even though they're trying to introduce you to the characters, there's more than one picture of Snow White on here. So each back explains a different part of their story, and it covers eventually every flashback from season 1. Then you got here, and yeah, okay, there's one on here. Oh, there it is. This list tells you the list of all, how many cards are there again? 45. This gives you a list of all 45 cards, and you could probably, by looking at all these cards, you could probably try to figure out which one I'm missing, because each of them have a title on it, and if that title's on here, and it's up here, then I'm not missing it. But if you just pause the video, or make a separate tab, and pause the video, and then have another version of this video right now, showing you the cards, you can try to compare and figure out which one I'm missing. It's too blurry for you to pause it and figure out which one I'm missing, then Don't bother. I was hoping they would have season 2 trading cards, but they didn't make those. All they cared about was season 1. So that wraps up everything I wanted to show you on here. But as far as physical merchandise, let me try to go back. Thank you. As far as physical merchandise goes, I have these calendars from, I don't know what year this is. This is season 6, 2018. These calendars were made a year behind. So, like, as you know, this was when season 7 was on the air. You got Regina and Snow. You got Robin Hood. You got Belle. And this is my birthday month. It's Captain Hook. Rumple. Charming. Wicked Witch. Emma. Regina. Henry. Rumple. Again, Rumple's been on here a lot. And then you got, look, the months of 2019. I don't have season 3 or 4. And I didn't know about the show when it was during its first 2 seasons. So, sorry. And since they never came out with season 7, these are the only 2 calendars I have. Here's Merida. And unlike this one, that shows you the next 4 months of 2019 at the end, this tells you what the last 4 months were before 2017. And see, it's 2016. See, Merida. Then you got January of 2017, Emma. Darkwing Arc, Charming, with a little bit of Snow and Charming in the background. They give you, unlike the other season, this is a little more detailed. They give you like little glimpses of the season in the background. Wicked Witch and Regina. That one doesn't have any glimpses in the past. Henry, oh look, and his relationship with Violet. That's going to be his love interest in the show by season 5. That's a spoiler. Emma. That doesn't look like Emma, but it is. Henry, she just has a new hairdo for the first half of season 5. She's the dark one for those who know the rest of the show. Look, Hook for Emma and Hook. Is that my birthday month? That is. Rumple and Belle. Rumple, again, Rumple and Belle together did not have anything. So, look, there's them with a little few Dark One flashbacks. I'm surprised they don't have anything Underworld related here. Emma and Hook, I guess that makes sense because DVD-wise, everything's focused on the first half. So, Emma and Hook. Snow White. She looks like season 2 Snow White, though. In the background, you can tell it's season 5, but she looks like season 2 Snow White. This has nothing in the background. Emma and Hook doesn't. And then you got Regina. Again, background. That's from the Underworld. That one right there, that is from the Underworld. And this is the only poster I've seen that's Underworld, though. Then Red Riding Hood. That's from season 2, though. Some of this is from season 2. Yeah, so this doesn't match up with the series, but she was in season 5 in both the first and second half, so you can argue that that's representing both halves. Then you get Snow and Charming for December, and then it doesn't give you the months of the next year. So, unlike this calendar, that gives you a hint of what the next 4 months look like, this just gives you the last 4 months. And those are the only 2 calendars I have because they didn't do one for season 7, and I missed my chance to get a season 3, 4, and a 1 and 2 calendar. And then on the back, you have all the pictures again. So I guess I could have just showed you the back instead of flipping through each month. But these are all the pictures from each month. You got January, February, March, April, May, June. And then this is January right here. Yeah, it has the whole entire calendar for the first month, but then it just shows you the pictures for the rest. So anyway, those are my calendars of Once Upon a Time. Season 6 was more focused on season 6. Season 5 had a little images from season 2. And like I said, I know the show so well, I can tell when something's from the wrong season. So, now after showing you all this, I've showed you, look at all this stuff I had on my bed. I showed you these calendars, I showed you these books, the cars, the DVDs. I showed you almost everything except for 2 more. You got Pop Heads. I got these mostly at Comic-Con and birthdays and Christmases. Every year Once Upon a Time was on the air. They only have 12 of these and 8 characters. Okay? I only have 5 at the moment. I've lost many of them. Wicked Witch, I broke her body. This is the only version of her. Okay? Hook, there's 2 versions. You have him with his hook, and then just a hand, and then you also have him holding a sword. So both pop heads are great. They're both about the same. One's with a black jacket, one's with a red jacket. So it doesn't matter which one you grab. So anyway, there's 2 of him. Emma, look at that. Only one Emma though. I broke her hand. I broke her feet. She can't walk anymore. She's in a wheelchair. Rumple not only is just a head like the Wicked Witch, but look, his bottom's missing too. You can see the inside of his head. The Wicked Witch, you can't. Anyway, there's 2 Rumples though. One with him holding the dagger and one with him not holding the dagger. So 2 hooks, 2 Rumples. 4 characters so far. You got Snow White missing 1 leg. Ooh. Snow White missing 1 leg. And her bow and arrow. There's another picture of Snow White from when she's not in her bandit outfit, when she's in her purple dress. So there's 2 versions of Snow White. So out of the main 6, Hook, Rumple, Emma, Snow, Regina. There's 2 Reginas. One with her holding an apple, and then one with her holding a fireball. I think I got the one where she's holding the apple. And then, who else are we missing out of the 6? Oh, Charming. Charming, there's only one Charming, but I don't know where he is. Sorry, Larry. Outside of the main 6, besides the Wicked Witch, is Belle. There's a pop head of Belle. And then, as I told you before, so those are the 8. Rumple, Regina, Hook, Snow White, Charming, Emma, and then Belle and the Wicked Witch. Those are the 8 pop heads. They didn't make any other pop heads. Now, some of them might not even exist anymore because the show's been off the air. But I mean, I'm a witness of it while it was in the air, and they only came out with those 8, period. Now, they said they were going to make a Robin Hood doll, a Robin Hood pop head, but that ended up getting canceled and didn't sell as merchandise. So, that would be a rare collectible to have if you ended up getting, maybe they sold a couple. I don't know. He said they were in the middle of making one back in 2015, but never came out. I looked very long and hard and never came out. And then I did read an article once that they got canceled, though you don't trust everything you hear on the internet. So, I don't know. Maybe there was a Robin Hood one, or maybe it was only sold for a limited time. So, all I know is that when I looked up the characters later on, like after season 6, they only had those 8. So anyway, if you want to collect all 12 of these, go ahead. They might still be out there, I don't know. But, if you just want one of each character, there's a total of 8. Go get them. Anyway, let me just show them one more time up close. Oh, Wicked always wins. Emma, the Dark One never sings. Sorry, that was random. There is a musical episode in the show. I almost wanted to sing every song that related to the character, but then I decided not to after I said, Wicked always wins. So I don't want to spoil the musical episode. If I already did by saying Wicked always wins, I'm so sorry. But anyway, yes, they're broken. I'm so sorry I didn't take better care of them. So that was 1 out of 2 things. The last merchandise. So this is not something you could buy online. This was handmade, custom made. I hired someone to study the show very hard. So you recognize this from the dagger. See how it has no name on it? You saw this once before when Rumple was dying and Cora was about to kill him. His name was vanishing. And this is what the dagger looked like for a split second in episode 16 of season 2. But besides that, you'd never seen the dagger without a name. That's going to happen again in the show. Season 5 will have no name tethered to the dagger. And so anyway, they asked me with extra money and with extra pay, would I like to have my name on here? No, I do not want to be the Dark One. I just wanted the plain old sword. I sent them a picture of the entire thing, and they went detail by detail of what the dagger is exactly supposed to look like. So this is the dagger. Now, I didn't mean to break this. I meant to take better care of this, but up until season 6, I wasn't taking care of my things, as you know. Up until season 7, I mean. And so, anyway, this is what it really looks like. I don't remember if I showed it in the show. But see, spoiler alert, it's the Excalibur. We're going to Camelot, season 5. The Excalibur is the dagger. I command thee, Dark One! Oh, let me cover that right there. There we go. Ignore this. I command thee, Dark One! Anyway. And then this was the Excalibur that was pulled from the stone. And when King Arthur pulled it out, it was only a half a sword. Most of a sword. In the real show, this is how long the sword was. This is how long the dagger was. So I wouldn't say it was cut in half. They keep saying it got cut in half. You're just missing a little piece of it. Anyway, King Arthur eventually finds the dagger, finds out that it's in Storybrooke, and when he gets it, when he gets his hands on it, it becomes a whole sword. Anyway, so spoiler alerts about the Camelot arc. Sword! Look, and if you want to see the handle up close, this is what it does look like in the actual show. They went in all detail on this, and I paid them a lot of money for this. So you cannot get this anywhere else, trust me. You have to hire someone to do it for you. And look at these squiggly lines. Of course, when you get up here where the sword starts, it's squiggly until you get about like right here, and then it's straight. And then you have this pointy part. Pretend it's like in the stone, and I just pulled it out. I'm the King of Camelot! King of Camelot! I command thee, Dark One, with the entire sword, not the dagger! Anyway, now that I showed you all my merchandise, look at all that crap. All that crap. But I am pretty done for the night. And I hope you enjoy this video. We'll see you next week for Once Upon a Time Season 3. So get new viewers involved. There'll be a recap special that will recap Season 1 and 2 very nicely. Unfortunately, this Season 3 special is it's one of those things. I told you how some of the specials you have to buy on YouTube. It's one of those things you have to buy, and you can't get it separately. You have to buy the whole season to get this special. You can't watch it free on Disney Plus or any streaming services. You have to buy the entire Season 3 on YouTube for $30. So if that is not worth your money, I have an audio version. So though you can't watch the episode with me, because I decided to waste all my money and buy the whole season just for that one episode. I was stupid, okay? Did that for Season 5 as well. But anyway, all the other specials are either free or there's just another way to access them without wasting your money. Anyway, but like with Season 3 and 5, the seasons I bought just for one episode, and I only got permission to record the audio. So you can watch the audio for free with me, but it might not be as fun as watching the actual episode. So I can see why you might want me to just jump into the season with episode 1, but I'm still going to do this special because I want to. If you don't want to be bored for 40 minutes, listen to the audio, okay? But that will be next Sunday. So next Sunday, tune in for that. We'll start Season 3. This video wraps up Season 2 for all of us. So have a great night. See you next week for Season 3. Bye, y'all!